Fans of Monolith, of Lord of the Rings, my brothers and sisters, I see in you the same anger that took the very heart of me. A day will come when Warner Brothers releases the patent they hold over the Nemesis System, but it is not this day. A day may come when the former Monolith team comes together and creates something new, but it is not this day. This day, we honor the fallen. We shall immortalize their last game with this review, its strengths and flaws, the lessons it teaches, and what it can inspire us to create. By all that you hold dear, I bid you, stand! Stand for Monolith! Shadow of War, Monolith's swan song, the last game they ever made. Until Warner Brothers kicked them out to the curb.
No! 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 Why?
I want to say this up front. This isn't a video bashing Warner Brothers for their foolish decisions. This also isn't an in-depth 3-hour-long retrospective on every little detail of the game. Rather, this is to express my appreciation for a game that I love, both for its good and bad aspects, as well as the improvements and changes it has undergone, with a few hints of controversy. This is to immortalize forever the last sigh of a cherished studio that Warner Brothers euthanized after kicking it multiple times. Just one more disclaimer. This game assumes that you've watched my Shadow of Mordor review. Please do so if you haven't. I won't be repeating much besides some points I missed and changes between both games. Anyways, on with the premise. It starts with a previously on Middle-earth section, which somewhat retcons the events of the previous game. They now say that defeating Sauron will break the circle, when that clearly wasn't the case.
I can't leave you. But there is only one way to close the circle. The Black Hand remains. One way to close the circle. To defeat Sauron.
This is just one of a few retcons, by the way.
The world of men is ending.
Is that Goth Galadriel? Well, whatever the case, Shadow of War starts just after Shadow of Mordor. Talion and Celebrimbor decide to create a new ring of power to rival Sauron. Just as it's finished, though, Celebrimbor is kidnapped by powers unknown. Talion traverses the Misty Mountains cold, and the kidnapper turns out to be Shelob, the Great. Attractive woman who can turn into a large spider. She gives Celebrimbor back in exchange for the ring, and shows Talion a vision of Minas Ithil, the last human fortress in Mordor, under siege. Talion's goals are threefold: defend Minas Ithil, get the ring back, and create an army to rival the Dark Lords. Moving on to the presentation, I'm conflicted. The graphics are nothing short of an overhaul. The drab colors and dark aesthetics are nearly gone, replaced by brighter lighting and colorful environments. It feels more like a high fantasy setting, which Lord of the Rings is, but this clashes with the dark tone the previous game established. Even nighttime is not immune to this effect and looks blander than Shadow of Mordor's. The overhaul extends to the characters. Talion's face is more rounded, sporting a new outfit that matches the new tone. Celebrimbor is downright unrecognizable. He's still a poltergeist, but is now pushing 90 and has eyes whiter than his ghostly complexion. Then there's the orcs. They still look ferocious, but they've built their own beauty salon, hence the absence of hideousness. They still look cool though, especially their new counterparts. Human slaves are no longer in abundance, so certain orcs have to do the menial tasks. Then there's the Olog High, also known as Shrek and Fiona's future heirs. The new higher-ups this time around are the infamous ring wraiths. No, that's not what they look like right now. Yep, that's them. looking like they just came out of Ghostbusters. I get that they're supposed to be spirits, but I was expecting them to look as they did in Fellowship, not mean and green. What I do like about this change is the visual clarity, especially discerning your minions. In Shadow of Mordor, it was hard to tell who was under your thrall besides a blue aura around their face and the minimap. Now though, dominated orcs get blue armor, and your enemies were all red. Plus, I found myself mistaking enemy types less than in the previous game. Also, I do like the environments. Shadow of War expands the game world, letting us go to lands both new and familiar. Nirn makes its return, now even brighter and with much more vegetation. The only exception is a misty forest that harbors a spoilery entity. Saragos is the misty mountain region from the intro. Look under the surface and you'll find an icy cavern system underneath, as well as a large ice river off to the side. Cirith is a barren land, consisting of one mountain with a complex cave carved into its side. Gorgoroth is a volcanic region, with rivers of lava spewing out and a view of Sauron's tower in the distance. Then there's Lithlad, which was added with DLC. Just imagine Dune set in the Middle Ages. There's more to it, but it's explained in a certain someone's DLC. What each region has in common is the presence of fortresses. They're not the old, dilapidated ruins from Shadow of Mordor. Instead, they're huge, fortified village structures whose features will be different depending on which orc tribe inhabits them. Minas Ithil is probably the most unique of them all, not just because humans control it, but because we can see what life is like for these folks as they train and prepare the defenses, or voice concerns over the current leadership.
Castamir's doing a fine job, but sometimes I think Idril would make an even better leader.
She'll get her chance.
Yeah, let's hope we all live that long.
So, while I find the change of art direction jarring, I can appreciate it for what it is. What I appreciate even more are the voiceovers and dialogue. They can still be short and to the point, especially when finding artifacts.
Now all I need is some pipeweed.
Which you won't find for leagues in any direction.
Yet, there is a greater range of emotion and tone, especially with the new characters, such as Idril and Baranor. Idril is the much more likable version of this woman from Shadow of Mordor. She starts out as the hopeful shield maiden, determined to see Ithil survive and preserve the treasure she spent her life surrounded by.
There's no time. We can only take the most valuable.
We're taking everything.
Idril, sacrifices must be made.
We'll not sacrifice our past to fear.
Baranor is sort of a fish out of his ecosystem. He was adopted by a Gondorian family from his home in Harad and has lived in Ithil since then. Although he remembers his time in Harad, he has since taken on his Gondorian identity and everyone has welcomed him. This includes Idril, whom Baranor has a crush on.
The only life that matters is the one with Idril.
The now dubbed Bright Lords are more expressive as well, particularly in their motivational speeches following victories.
We fought and suffered, but still we stand! There is a new power in Mordor! You! In the days ahead, we will fight other battles and claim other fortresses! But starting today, Mordor belongs to you! Mordor belongs to the Bright Lord!
Chills, man. Chills. The ring wraiths themselves are voiced, but they sound so similar with their low, raspy voices.
Welcome, Talion. Come to join these three in service to the Witch King. For that is your destiny. You must know this.
This is their only motif, but it's supposed to be 9 ring wraiths. 9! It's what makes the parallel between them and the Fellowship of the Ring compelling. Adding one more wraith is like recruiting Gollum. It could work, but only in fanfiction. Still, the orc captains and war chiefs remain the highlight. There are many more personalities this time around, even ones so unique I couldn't find them for this review. Still, many are well voiced and sound like dangerous and brutal warriors.
I've been killing orcs for years. Shed a lot of orc blood. A lot of black has flowed over this blade. That's why I call it my Black Blade.
Then there's Orc Kumail.
Now your father! Which I've never been entirely clear on what that is, but I'm pretty sure it applies.
Conan O'Brien and I share the same sentiment on his performance.
You just tumble for no reason. I'd just like to... No.
Why would a Gondorian come here and try to murder all of the orcs? Maybe you have a problem with one orc, maybe 100, but all of us? Maybe the problem is with you.
Should we cook you up?
You didn't change your voice at all! You in no way changed your voice! Where was that? Did you do that over the phone? Did you record that in your car over the phone? What the hell was that?
They wanted me to not change my voice!
You just wanted to just do some spare lines from Silicon Valley and call it a day.
My favorite orc captains are the unstable ones, or those with bizarre delivery to their voice lines.
Better look out! You better look out!
Insignificant.
While I considered the dialogue for the main characters an improvement, orcs will always steal the show, no matter what. There really isn't much to say about music. It's mostly the same, just with a couple of added tracks for fighting and exploring, and for your new mount, the Drakes. Even sound effects are largely unaffected, but do have new additions for abilities and status effects.
Easily countered!
With those also come a whole suite of animations, especially for executions and upgraded ground takedowns.
Surround him!
Still, Shadow of Mordor's effects and animations were already fantastic, so I didn't mind them being largely unaffected in this game. Not every sequel has to be on the level of Arkham City, which improves sound effects and music after Arkham Asylum. Gameplay, though, is where Shadow of War is the Arkham City of Mordor. It preserves the core, but also modifies and adds elements almost everywhere. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the new... I want to say skill tree, but this looks like a complicated mind map. In terms of story, Talion and Celebrimbor are back to level 1 and must rebuild from there. The good news is that reobtaining old skills is a cinch if you do the following in every region. Complete quests, do Nemesis System quests, kill orcs that lead outposts, find Shelob memory puzzles, get burnout, turn off the game and touch grass. Okay, it's not that much of a cinch, but it gives incentive to explore the world. When you get your old skills back, you'll find many new skills that make orc extermination efficient. multi-chain kills, shooting arrows from midair, a new ultimate form that Celebrimbor always had and hasn't told us about after all this time. Yet, those main skills also come with sub-skills, which change their properties. For example, you have perfect parrying now, which trips orcs as a start. Alternatively, a sub-skill lets you end lower class orcs instantly. Additionally, skills like Elven Light can now have different elements, such as freezing ice, burning fire, or invasive poison. However, you can only equip one sub-skill at a time, which means you can't make Talion the ultimate Ranger Ghost Warrior. Still, you can switch these skills out at any time. These skills intertwine with the tweaks made to the gameplay. For example, it makes traversal quicker with faster climbing and a double jump. The double jump also helps with stealth, allowing you to sneak through areas in ways that were not possible before, like breaking the cool fall from the towers halfway to jump onto a platform. You could summon your beast instead of searching for one, changing it to fit your needs. The Drake especially made certain moments feel like stealth missions, dropping down from the sky, getting what I needed, then getting out in no time flat. The dynamism of the world remains, but it didn't seem to happen all that often. Still, you'll see wild drakes come in and set fire to your enemies. There are new options to disrupt the game world yourself. The predecessor had ways to lure Caragors, but now you can also lure ghouls, drakes, and even spiders. Stealth doesn't see the most significant overhaul, but the new skills do make it more fun, especially multi-killing and the animations for offing all log high. However, I did notice a couple of changes, especially to the enemy AI. One is that they no longer drink from poisoned grog barrels, except for one mission. It's a shame since you can poison grog from afar now, but it's useless except to prime it to blow up into a balefire, which is what happens when fire and poison decide to get married. The other is Caragors, or rather, the difference between them and those tamed by orcs. Untamed ones could smell you coming a mile away in Shadow of Mordor, and that's still the case. However, tamed Caragors can't. What's more, all Caragors, especially their white alphas, are now stealthy. Like, why not keep their Karagath cousins? Did the Caragors die out and the Karagath take over? Did the Caragors learn stealth? Did a mommy Karagath and a daddy Caragor love each other very much and decide to create an entirely new species that declared dominance over its parents? Whatever the case, Caragors are stealthy now, and Grogs may come in new flavors. Then there's the bow. Apart from tainting Grog a mile away, it has changed drastically from its predecessor. The previous game's UI had both the focus bar and arrow capacity wedged in as the cursor, helping to keep track of precious resources. Here, the arrow count is on the lower left, the only bar being focus. Not to mention, you don't go into the Wraith world when aiming anymore. What's even more drastic is that arrows seem to be in short supply, and you start with a lower capacity than Legolas. The only ways to regenerate them are twofold. Pray there's a stack of arrows, or get sub-skills that regenerate them, but sacrifice killer parries and dominating minions in the process. It's not that big of a deal, but it's like the guys at Monolith thought the bow was in easy mode and wanted to make things difficult. Not to mention, the changes in the UI made keeping track of arrows while fighting harder than it needed to be. You kept the focus bar and made it bigger, but didn't add a small counter near the cursor? Combat is fundamentally the same, but quite a few mechanics were added or tweaked. Special abilities are not reliant on keeping your score up anymore. Instead, you build up a might bar or two to enhance your ability. For example, you can have an ordinary execution, or a war crime to scare your foes. You can tweak the might bar with sub-skills in ways that are riskier but more rewarding, or to play things safe. You can use 2 special abilities, or use up all of them for one devastating execution. Also, while you do have an ultimate move, it's not a game changer since it doesn't kill everyone in a single bout, and it charges really slowly. It's more like a panic button you use to deal with more challenging enemies, or to thin the herd. There is a glaive, which Celebrimbor also had and never let us use. I barely used it, so that explains things. It's more usable while riding Caragors, which adds a couple of layers to mounted combat, but not a lot. Graugs are a whole lot more useful in combat, especially against orc leadership, and when you grab a Drake, you put up your Caragor mount for adoption. Bottom line, the skills and sub-skills are game-changing. Literally, they profoundly change how you interact with the mechanics, more so than the Arkham series, and on par with old-school RPGs like Oblivion. It encourages experimentation and discovering what works for you, allowing you to play in the way you want. Have it your way! Yet, you can't become the overpowered ranger that Talion once was. You need to find out what skills complement each other and suit you as a player. This is especially true when in combination with the new Rune and RPG system. It has undergone a significant overhaul and impacts gameplay in a completely new way. Runes are still obtained from orc higher-ups, but are now armor pieces with special abilities. It has also turned Shadow of War into a kill and loot RPG, and armor is in tiers, ranging from low tier white to unique tier purple. The white to orange ones are randomly determined, but purple is where orc tribes come in. New factions are occupying Mordor with discernible classes. These classes determine what type of armor each will have. For example, assassins will have dagger runes, archers will have bow runes, and so on. Each tribe has its own purple armor set, and obtaining them all is not recommended at earlier levels. Orc captains have levels now, and so do you. Your level affects what orcs you can dominate, but also what level armor you get. To reiterate, it's not the orc's level, but yours that determines an armor's strength. They can be upgraded, but it means dominating an orc usually 20 levels higher. That is until you hit level 60, at which it only costs Mirian to level up. The fashion is nice, but you realize that they're all similar with a different color scheme. However, the stats are the most important. Higher levels means more benefits and abilities to decimate or even scare enemies with. What's more, having 2 to 4 pieces of a specific armor set unlocks passive skills. Again, it encourages experimentation and strutting your stuff, whether it be close to vanilla or an edgelord. There is a slight downside to the skills, but discussing it is challenging without first acknowledging the one, the only, the legendary Nemesis System. It has seen significant improvements since Shadow of Mordor, along with a whole suite of innovations. To better explain this, I'll tell you a tale. The tale of my first true nemesis in the Middle-earth series. The tale of the Head Chopper. After retrieving the ring, I managed to assemble a few followers and assign them to various missions. One of them was to ambush an enemy orc, not to kill, but to recruit. The mission proceeds somewhat smoothly, but I was determined to take down the Head Chopper before making my escape. He was the toughest orc I faced thus far, able to regenerate health if left alone, and hard to fight head to head. Still, I managed to whittle him down to low health. However, another orc comes in, Head Chopper's blood brother, and will do this every single time Head Chopper is at low health. I was already on the verge of death, so I had to retreat. But Head Chopper didn't give up. He would find me at the most inconvenient of times, even taking a couple of my best men in brutal fashion. The dynamism of the game world is spilling into Nemesis missions. How cool is that? Eventually, I ambushed him, stealing his glory by preventing him from carrying out his duties as judge, jury, and executioner. Eventually, I managed to get a couple of captains to distract the lesser forces while I took on Head Chopper and his blood brother, using their weaknesses to take him down. But not the blood brother, since he was a war chief's bodyguard, setting up a betrayal that made the fight somewhat easier. This is what sold me on the Nemesis system. It wasn't just an orc with a unique personality, but one that posed a challenge, that grabbed my attention for being hard to kill, to give me an enemy I wanted to take down, that I had to take down. The exciting prospect was that he wasn't the only one. I faced quite a few challenging captains, war chiefs, and the new overlords, those whose strengths and weaknesses became so vast that they are now displayed on spreadsheets. Some that even managed to kill me in the main game. It gave me a sense of purpose, of investment. Those Olog High think they can just break my sword and get away with it? Did that captain or overlord? Oh no. I will put an end to them, making them wish they could just run away, but they can't. They can never escape me. I will chase them to the ends of the earth! What I just described here is just scratching the surface. I didn't even get into the varying behaviors of orc captains, such as adapting to vaulting and making it useless, or following you over to the next region. Or how about new mission types like luring orc captains to their demise? Not to mention the orc arenas where you can pit orc against orc. You'll need to do this as it's how you place spies into enemy ranks. It is great for the most part and fun to watch. However, there are times when your captain's AI will act weird, not pressing the attack and suffering for it. It all serves the same purpose as the last game, dominating orc captains and war chiefs to fight Sauron. However, recruiting a war chief or replacing him is more impactful because of the newest addition, fortress sieges. The fortresses themselves have a hierarchy. The war chiefs oversee the defenses, and the overlord sits lazily on the throne. Each one will have unique defenses, but you'll have plenty of options to counter them. Alternatively, killing or recruiting war chiefs disables their defenses and turns them into spies, making the fortresses more vulnerable. Though, on Nemesis difficulty, an empty war chief slot can get replaced quickly, so you'll need to act fast. Either that or do what I did, recruit the bodyguards, and when the siege comes around, they can stab their boss in the back. The actual sieges are all the same. It is a spectacle at first, seeing so many orcs fighting all at once. It got to the point where I had to play the range damage support hybrid. After a while though, you realize it boils down to a few easy steps. Disable the ranged defenses, take all the points, then go inside the fortress to either kill or persuade the overlord. They can be challenging, which is a plus, and one of the overlords managed to overpower me. Still, I would have appreciated a stealthy siege from time to time, to shake things up. But it doesn't end there. You will need to build up defenses for your forts, not just for an upcoming siege, but also for online invasions. That's right, you or other people can invade each other's forts. Test your armies and skills to tell others, if I can invade it, then you've done a shoddy defense job. There are rewards for doing this, such as more experience in Mirian. Yet, it also means I need to address the controversy. The game launched with loot boxes that you could buy to unlock orcs faster than just recruiting them yourself. It even had an XP booster to help you level up quicker. Some of it was buyable with Mirian, but there was another currency, gold, which you could get by either completing daily quests, or, the touch of death for any game, buying it with real money when you already spent $60 to buy the dang thing. It's not like season passes. At least with those, you can buy it if you wish for extra content and love the game. Here, Warner Brothers made Monolith do both loot boxes and a season pass to squeeze more money out than they needed. Just do either season passes or make your game free with loot boxes. Doing both is usually a death sentence for games. The buying of gold and orcs was removed a year later, along with reworking XP progression, which is good since it invalidated the fun of recruiting orcs yourself. However, certain elements stuck around, such as the crates, which were only earnable by completing the online sieges. They don't provide orcs, but orders that change the feats of individual captains. Plus, if you decide to dominate captains from another player's fortress, they can come into your game or can be dismissed to get runes. They're pretty neat features, but got mixed up with greedy intentions. Still, all of this makes the Nemesis system even better than before, with a couple of quality of life features. Shadow of Mordor had battle reports that showed you the status of the game world. It took forever, and I dreaded having to go through it. Shadow of War shortens it by just displaying everything on a map and how long you have before a mission expires. Also, while Shadow of Mordor allowed you to command captains, you had to be within their vicinity. Shadow of War allows you to do this from the screen. What's more, you can even have another captain come in as support so you don't have to worry too much about random ambushes. You can also look at an enemy captain's weakness before a mission or fighting him, something the predecessor wouldn't. These changes saved time and enabled me to become more involved in the strategic aspects. Finally, the Nemesis System is where I found the major flaw of the skill trees. As I mentioned earlier, Orc captains have documented paperwork that reveals weaknesses. On the one hand, I can assess which of my units should go, given their own strengths. On the other hand, if you're the one facing the captain, it means changing out your sub-skill over and over and
over and over and over, and I'm not.
You can argue for sticking to just one skill build and adapting to that, but that's not how I roll. I'm a professional, and professionals account for everything. Before adapting anyway, since the mission went sideways. In all seriousness, I need to know that I have addressed at least most of the weaknesses, especially when facing multiple captains and war chiefs. For me, it becomes exhausting to the point where I feel like there are too many skills and too much to accommodate, at least for the main game. Despite the amount of time I blabbed on about fortress sieges, there is other content to sink your teeth into. For example, the outposts all over Mordor, which are liberated by either defeating or dominating the captain heading it. These are usually good sources of recruits. There is also the Celebrimbor flashback missions, which serve to retcon the game's events even more than Shadow of Mordor did. The big picture is intact, but now Monolith says that Celebrimbor went beyond Udun, and the final fight wasn't in Udun. Can you guys please pick a timeline and stick with it? You'll have to do these anyway and complete the side objectives for armor pieces. There's more, but it's content I completed in the endgame, which leaves the story missions. They follow 4 story threads, which deal with either Talion's army, the Gondorians, the Nazgul trying to undermine you, or Mother Nature. Seriously. Suffice to say, they're all fun to play. Plus, there's an incentive to complete side objectives because they give you gems. Notably, white gems with the cloak and torso pieces increase the amount of XP you get for anything you accomplish. Plus, you can combine lesser gems into bigger gems to increase the gains. You can earn these in other ways, like destroying statues or from enemies. The fastest way is the farming method, where the orcs are the crops. Then there are the story threads themselves, which are great. Notably, the story's handling of conflict between characters has improved drastically. Talion and Celebrimbor's arguments now feel meaningful, a true battle of ideals versus pragmatic values. The other characters are more well-rounded this time, detailing their backstories and how the current war is affecting them. I found myself invested in these stories more than Shadow of Mordor's. However, the separate story threads don't really converge. 3 of them end at a certain point, while the main one continues. I reckon the 3 of them are supposed to be more thematic, revealing more of Talion and Celebrimbor as characters, or the true meaning behind the world they inhabit. I'll give my 2 cents, but suffice to say, the stories aren't perfect. There are still holes and a couple of ridiculous moments, but they're not as absurd as Talion falling in love after his wife dies. Anyways, on to the spoilers, which will include DLC. If you want to skip to the endgame or just my overall conclusion, here are the timestamps for both. After saving Celebrimbor, Act 1 starts. Talion thwarts any means for the orcs to take over Minas Ithil, and gets visions of said means from Shelob. Still, Ithil falls, not from orcs, but from Idril's dad not knowing any better.
You will hold to our bargain. My daughter's freedom.
Castamere, no!
She is free to die with her people.
The ring wraiths tried to take control of Talion, but he's saved by Eltariel, expert ring wraith hunter and wielder of Galadriel's light. They head over to Shelob's to get the ring back, and fight off the Ringwraith ambush. Shelob willingly gives the ring back, but not before giving Talion a vision of him and Celebrimbor defeating Sauron.
Build your army. Your path will be made clear.
With that, Act 2 begins. This is where the branching stories start, so I'll go from least relevant to most. Anything involving Baranor and Idril is... okay. I did become invested in the characters, and I liked what the developers were conveying. The assault on Minas Ithil, now Minas Morgul, has affected Baranor and Idril quite differently.
My father sacrificed all of Minas Ithil for my safety. I will not be protected any longer. Not by you. Not by anyone.
Idril, you will die out here.
Then that is my fate.
It shows the effects of war and losing everything. One person wanting to start over while the other wants to avenge the fallen. Yet, Idril does recognize that her antics put her men in danger, just as Baranor realizes that evil must be fought to preserve the lives of others.
You were right. Staying in Mordor is certain doom. But I cannot leave.
My lady.
Then we will be doomed. Together.
It also parallels Talion and his wife, both of whom wanted to escape their position. Yet, the death of Talion's family gives him reason to fight. He doesn't want his fellow soldiers or their families to suffer the same fate as him, to stop the evil that took everything away from him. Still, this story thread is the least impactful of the three. It doesn't affect the ending or Talion and Celebrimbor as characters. In fact, the two cutscenes I just showed you have Idril and Baranor not even acknowledging Talion's presence.
I see it. I've searched everywhere for you.
And I you.
You know Talion's looking on, right? Not going to say hi? You're not even going to say goodbye? Really? You can remove this entire storyline and nothing will change. Though I guess it was to prep us for Baranor's DLC. Then there's Carnan, the Mother Nature deity. You meet her by defeating her many animal forms, before being beaten by a tree vine. She says that your creation of the ring has stirred up Tar-Goroth, an old general of Morgoth's who also happens to be a freaking Balrog. I didn't even think Balrogs could be tamed. Maybe he could have been the 10th Ringwraith. In reality, it's all caused by an orc named Zog, a necromancer. Honestly, he's what the Hand of Sauron could have been if the writers gave him more of a presence. They're both voiced by Nolan North, so why not?
The Dark Lord gave you a second chance to stand by his side. Now I give you no choice. We shall be sealed together in death. We meet again. I am Zog, and I've been watching you for some time. You're the inspiration for all this. What better army to defeat a dead man than a legion of undead orcs?
I did look up Carnan on the wiki. She's definitely not a Tolkien character. I don't know if Tolkien would have approved, but I'll let it slide since you get to fight a Balrog with a Graug. I don't care if this isn't lore friendly, this is awesome. Don't tell me it's not awesome! I also like Zog, just for his personality and for how fleshed out he is. He doesn't align with Sauron, but instead wants to create an undead army to conquer Mordor for himself.
This is our army, not Sauron's, not the Witch King's. The dominion of those slave masters is at an end. For today, we rise!
This story also introduces undead orcs, who are disturbing. Still, it's hard to determine how this relates to our protagonists. Carnan doesn't trust them since their undead status is a violation of nature.
A lifeless beast are you, but no, for you die and die, not lifeless, but deathless. A flesh-haunted thing.
Yet, she sees Talion as the only way to stop Targoroth, a lesser evil to destroy evil.
Fight till death and rise again, you will fight. Soon and soon. Death will defeat undead.
What's even weirder is that Celebrimbor, of all people, is the one who doesn't want to mess with her.
Talion, we cannot defeat her.
What would you suggest I do?
Throw down your sword and kneel.
I will not kneel to this thing.
I'm guessing it's because Carnan is far more ancient and powerful than Celebrimbor, but we managed to fight off her forms. Except for the vine to the foot. I'm gonna hazard a guess that this story is supposed to emphasize Talion's role. He's the one who can fight Sauron's forces and keep them at bay, not just for the world of men, but all of Middle-earth. It may also be a commentary about nature versus unnatural forces, but who cares? We get to fight a Balrog! Now we move on to the important stuff. Army building. We start with this guy, Bruce.
Bright Lord, Dark Lord, same thing really. End results me ripping spines out, which I like to do anyway, so either way's a win.
A fine addition to our army.
He's our new introduction to the Nemesis System, and a pretty likable guy. Sure, he has a killer instinct, but he's also a happy-go-lucky Olokai, and makes tutorials sound exciting. But only second to Bruce Campbell voicing the tutorial for Spider-Man 1.
Got yourself another hanger-on, have ya? You'll have a proper army in no time. But you gotta remember, an army needs orders to follow. And I'll tell you what's always a popular one. Murder. Command that new follower of yours to gut some bugger you don't like, and that'll free you up to gut somebody else at the same time. And remember to keep the target's weaknesses in mind. If he's terrified of fire, there's nothing funnier than sending someone to clobber him with a fire weapon. Oh, that's proper music, that is.
Bruce comes close to being one of my favorite characters. But that changed quickly because Ratbag's back! And he made an Olog friend named
Ranger killed the old overlord, now it's ours.
Ranger.
Ranger?
Oh, yeah, I named him after you.
I'm honored.
He lets you have the Nirn fort, but only if Bruce doesn't lead it. Celebrimbor agrees, which does hamper Bruce's ambitions, but hey, he accepts the loss. He even helps defend the fort when Sauron's forces invade.
Told you I'd defend this fort like it was my own. Turns out, it is.
Oh. Oh no. Yeah, despite having a ring of power, orc captains can now betray us. And I don't entirely know how it works. I know that killing the blood brother of one of your captains can do it, as well as hitting a captain multiple times. I know that overlords and war chiefs have the least likely chance of betraying you. Besides that though, it seems random. Others have tried to give a comprehensive answer, but it's still a coin toss. Still, it's here where Bruce's mask starts to slip. He's only happy-go-lucky as long as he gets what he wants. If you're out of his friend circle, he'll belittle and mess with you to no end. Even when you throw him out of the fort, he captures Ranger and constantly sets up ambushes, as well as kidnaps followers to lure you to your doom. This is where the ideology versus pragmatism conflict arises. Talion believes simply killing Bruce will deter future betrayals, but Celebrimbor has been in the Uruk army business to know that this won't be the case. So, what exactly does Celebrimbor suggest? Make Bruce an example.
Why kill countless challengers when you can stop it all by breaking one?
This is where the Shane mechanic comes in.
We are even.
I don't want the fort. I don't want the fort. I never wanted the fort.
Is that Bruce? You broke him. I'd rather die than live like that.
That's the point.
Come on, Ranger. Let's get out of here. She's giving me the creeps.
You have to use shaming if you want to either A, bring higher level orcs to your level to recruit them, or B, remove the Iron Will feat, which prevents recruitment no matter their level. The caveat is that this will either drive them to insanity or make them manic, which locks you out of recruiting them entirely. But hey, you could create some wacky personalities.
You're not in charge! You're not in charge at all! The Bright Lord is your master! Who's in charge? Who's in charge?
Besides introducing the new Nemesis features, Bruce's story arc emphasizes Talion and Celebrimbor's differences and fleshes them out. It brings them into conflict, and not just the short and rushed kind. Talion hesitates to take the shaming route at first, but Celebrimbor realizes that Bruce won't stop recruiting unless deterred. You understand the thought process of both characters, and it's invigorating. Finally, the piece de resistance, the Eltariel Arc. It's mainly keeping fast travel points and orcs out of the hands of the Nazgul, fighting them nearly every single time while listening to their recruitment pitches. They are a bit formidable, but the unique ones are those whose memories you divulge afterwards. One is an ancient king whom Sauron tricked into being his advisor and aged him faster than a US president. Another is Helm Hammerhand, who nearly died when his daughter was kidnapped, but Sauron gave him a chance to save her. That chance ends up with Hammerhand killing everyone in an act of uncontrollable rage. It confirms that the War of Rohirrim show was a cover-up for this messy period. The third one is...
Isildur.
Isildur? As in Aragorn's ancestor?
The king who cut the woodwind from Sauron's hand.
And wore it on his own.
Yeah, the in-game explanation is that after dying, the orcs brought his body back to Mordor, and Sauron made him his minion. I guess it's a worse fate than dying, but this kind of messes with what the ring wraiths are supposed to be. Ancient kings who existed long before Sauron commences his conquest, not after. It was a part of the plan. I thought that retconning Celebrimbor's warfare constantly was bad enough, but this just muddles the big picture further. Yet, it is through these memories that we uncover a horrific revelation. Celebrimbor was present when Sauron gave the ring to Hammerhand.
You stood beside Sauron as he gave these kings the very rings that doomed them!
Those rings were meant to bring order. Sauron deceived me. He deceived us all.
Knowing what you know now, still, you crafted a new ring.
We crafted a ring. Why else did you pick up my hammer? It is not noble men we are dominating, but savage orcs.
So, we're going with this trope, huh? Make us question whether we're the bad guys when we've killed or dominated a bunch of war-mongering orcs?
Bright Lord, Dark Lord. Same thing, really. You're a cruel one, Grave Walker.
I guess we're supposed to say that Celebrimbor is the bad guy, while Talion is still good. It divides the two and further addresses their differing idealist and pragmatic beliefs. However, it's going into very simplified territory and not adding much nuance to the conversation. Still, we conquer all the forts and prep our army for one final siege of Sauron's tower.
We do not serve the Dark Lord! We will sally forth on the battlefield and take this land for our own! You fight for Mordor! You fight for the Bright Lord!
Here we face Isildur one last time, and break Sauron's hold completely.
I cannot allow this. Isildur, I release you! No! Find peace in death.
You broke Sauron's hold. You dominated him.
And I will dominate Sauron. His armies will be mine.
Well, I guess my theory from my Shadow of Mordor video was correct. But hey, Eltariel will back us up, right?
Celebrimbo is right. We fight and fight, but evil always returns. Talion, we can end this here.
Hey, quick question. Why? Eltariel has been nothing but skeptical towards Celebrimbor and the Ring since meeting us. She didn't like us using the power to dominate orcs when killing them was a better alternative for her.
You must destroy this ring.
It belongs to us.
Your legend holds true, Celebrimbor. I strike down men corrupted by these rings. Do not become one of them.
You don't decide whom I let live, Ringmaker. You'd both do well to remember that.
She was the one who preached about keeping up the fight against undead ring wraiths so long as it keeps them at bay.
It was not the first time for you to face hell, was it?
I've faced each ring wraith more times than I can count.
And you've never defeated them?
Not yet.
Then why do you keep fighting?
In the war against darkness, sometimes stalemate is victory.
Now, after witnessing Celebrimbor do what you've critiqued, you pull a 180? You can argue that Eltariel was secretly getting tired of constantly fighting respawning enemies, and Celebrimbor's power showed her a way out of the constant conflict. Yet, nothing before this scene implies this. She seemed to be a steadfast, loyal servant to Galadriel and the light. She appeared to be abhorrent towards evil.
These were once great men, but they could not resist a ring of power.
I refuse to believe that she would backstab Talion now, at such a crucial moment when everything points to her siding against Celebrimbor. Still, Talion firmly says no. That's fine, so long as he has the ring. Wait, he can do that? What's next? Can he just fight guys on his own?
Are not in vain. This is the only way.
Well, seems like it's over for us. And of course Shelob Ex Machina is here. She explains that everything she did was to prevent a dangerous future from unfolding, one in which Celebrimbor dominates Sauron and sets out to conquer all of Middle-earth. Thanks for validating my theory, Monolith. Thankfully, the future is averted because Talion decided not to go along with it. With Eltariel, dominating Sauron is out of the question. Still, why is Shelob doing this? Well, it turns out that she and Sauron were an item until he dumped her in exchange for dominating the Ancient King. Shelob saw a lot of Sauron in Celebrimbor and didn't want a Sauron 2.0. It's not really out of love for Middle-earth, but because the sting of betrayal ran deep within her, something she knew Talion would face. Yet, Talion's work is far from over. He needs to return to Minas Morgul and establish it as his base of operations. Someone has to make sure Sauron doesn't leave Mordor, after Eltariel messed things up. But how will Talion be able to live without Celebrimbor's life support? Well, there is only one thing that can help him.
As long as I have breath in my body, my fate is my own.
With Isildur's ring, Talion finally becomes an edgelord, leading his ghouls and ghouls into a siege to take back the fortress. It's here that we see how Talion has changed. He exchanges Celebrimbor's light powers for necromancy, bringing back dead orcs to fight alongside him. He even has his own ultimate, which spawns his Gondorian pals. His playstyle is basically Zog's, but on the side of good. At least for now. Talion reaches the Witch King, who tries one final time to bring him to the dark side.
Join us, brother.
What was that? Your brothers had much more rousing speeches than you. Anyway, we get into a fight, and he's fairly challenging, even using his own attacks. Wait a minute. Why is Monolith always ripping sounds from Star Wars? You beat him eventually, but he's so far gone that you can't gaze into his memories. I have a theory, but I'm not telling. What matters is that the city is ours, and so is the Palantir. With it, Talion gets a glimpse at the real final fight.
You will serve the Bright Lord now!
In the body of elf or man, you are unchanged, Celebrimbor.
You can do that, but you can't stop orc captains from backstabbing you? Sauron's fight is okay, but not spectacular. His fair form is the Nazgul tactic of charging in sword first, the only unique move being waves of whatever that is. He does turn into the Dark Armored Giant, but his moves are similar to those in his Bright Lord DLC appearance. This is at least better than the QuickTime event from the last game. Eventually, Celebrimbor and Eltariel go for the domination, and, as expected, it backfires. Sauron absorbs Celebrimbor, which should restore him like in the previous game. Instead, they both become the Eye, fighting for control. I suppose that having two powerful rings conflicts with each other. Or Monolith didn't want us to think about it too much. But here is where the endgame begins. It is another true ending locked behind content nonsense. You have to defend your forts from a series of attacks. If you lose one, you have to get it back. It's not as horrible as I thought it would be, but that's because of a patch. It used to be several stages, with each stage increasing the number of forts that came under attack and the strength of the orc captains. Monolith realized that mistake and reduced it to 3 waves. So, I'll just discuss the endgame content, starting with Talion. Without Celebrimbor, he now has his own voice lines, after patching them in. He used to have several uses of her and tur. Now though, he has various interactions and speeches.
On your knees! At my side you will fight! You are mine! You will serve.
This fortress is back in the hands of its rightful owner! No matter how many steps the Lord of Mordor takes forward, we will always drive him back!
He'll also have voice lines about his new ring and its effects. Despite saving him from death, the ring and the Witch King also call for him to join Sauron's war machine, the only line of defense being Talion's willpower.
Isildur's ring weighs heavy, whispers to me like a lover. Kill her, but I will not submit. Isildur's ring has great power, but you diminish with each year you wear it. Soon, there will be nothing left.
There are also new skills, such as resurrecting dead captains or hordes. But there's also the prestige skills, which increase how fast you gain might, wrath for your ultimate, and more. It made popping the ultimate not just a get out of jail option, but something I would frequently use in a fight. It's awesome! Not to mention the post-launch content Monolith released. Some new orcs that I haven't encountered were added, alongside new cloaks that not only imitate ring rates, but also come with their own abilities. As for side events, being level 60 now allows me to pursue the armor that was my main back in the day, the Vengeance Armor. You acquire it through Vendetta missions, which allow you to avenge a fallen player. It was a thing back in Shadow of Mordor, but they never popped up for me when reviewing it. Yet, the Vengeance armor isn't from a specific captain type, but from how you defeat them. I thought it would be hard to do, but I obtained all the pieces with relative ease, much more than I did years ago. What makes this armor stand out is that it allows you to shoot arrows without replenishing, or use special moves without a might bar. It only asks for a portion of your health, up to a quarter. You'll want to be at low health since it increases your damage to the point you kill grunts in one hit. This armor is basically a glass cannon build. Then there's the Bright Lord armor, which you get via 2 requirements: complete flashback missions with all the side objectives checked off, and reassembling poetry. I didn't use the armor, but it was nice to see that Celebrimbor delved into poetry. This is all in addition to the online sieges and orc arenas, which also have an online component to pit your captain against other players. Monolith really went the extra mile to make the endgame replayable, more so than its predecessor, and I commend them for that. There is an ending for the main game, but to talk about that means to talk about the Blade of Galadriel DLC. Picks up after Celebrimbor's botched domination. Galadriel contacts Eltariel and tells her to kill Talion and take his ring, even though he's the counterbalance against Sauron right now. She also tells Eltariel to use Celebrimbor's ring, even though wearing a ring of power would be the last thing Galadriel would advise. You reach him and fight him in an honestly interesting fight. He utilizes his moveset from the base game, and we get to see just how they are presented in a one-on-one fight. As expected, you lose, and Talion recruits you better than the ring rates. He says a new force is routing both his army and Sauron's, and needs your help to stop it by recruiting new captains into the fold. First, let's start with the good, specifically the gameplay and orcs. Eltariel is a fairly unique character to play, especially with her light powers. Shine enough light on orcs, and they'll glow lighter than Captain Marvel, stunning them instantly. Upgrading powers can let you even evaporate them. There are a variety of light powers, including light mines. However, some orcs are immune to it, even though it's heavenly light from Galadriel herself. Still, it forces you to reassess your tactics and abilities. Speaking of which, Eltariel's skill tree is more limited and doesn't branch out into any elemental changes. That's relegated to the armor pieces, which alter your base abilities and upgrade your level to a whopping 35. Huh. The best part about this DLC is the orcs and how they're obtained. Eltariel decides that possessing orcs is taboo, with good reason, and wants to recruit them in a normal manner. To me, this is a whole lot better, because the recruitable captains are allowed to have fleshed out missions and stories, personalities that you can get invested in.
What is it that you're doing here?
Only the greatest architectural achievement in Mordor, the first of its kind. An underground fortress, impervious to all forms of attack.
I am Eltariel, the Blade of...
You make awesome bones! We have to work together. In fact, we could use your skills for a project we've been working on. If you help us, we'll owe you one. There will be boons.
They feel more like characters and not just guys you recruit because you like their traits. And when I lost one of them, I felt devastated. Then there are the forts. Only a couple include the traditional takeovers and defenses. Others can range from stealthily taking forts to committing war crimes. It's the variation I hoped the base game would have. Now, we can shift to the negatives. I'm fine with the level cap being small. It's a short DLC, so I understand. The thing is that the armor pieces are obtainable from orc captains in the world, but the fastest way is to do these missions fighting unique captains. Doing all of them gives you the armor that enhances your light abilities rather than changes them. It also graciously levels you up from 35 to a massively significant 40. Really? These missions say that you should obtain armor pieces from other captains, but you don't need to. They're easy enough. Then there's everything else about Eltariel. A lot of her abilities and animations are too similar to Talion's. Her bow and light wraith are just high-pitched versions of Talion's sound effects.
You're leaving this fort cold and...
Now, we must address the DLC's horrendous story, beginning with how they handled the time skip. Some think that Eltariel's DLC invalidates the main game since the endgame spans 60 years. In reality, Eltariel happens to find her way inside by the time those 60 years have concluded. Still, I don't blame players for this. The DLC failed to address the time skip, becoming a retcon in itself. Then there's Galadriel. She chimes in from time to time like Celebrimbor does, and she kinda sounds like female Celebrimbor too, just more righteous and condescending. This isn't the Galadriel I know from Fellowship of the Ring.
Some orcs have simple pleasures. These two have a love for all that is loud and explosive. Use this knowledge to draw them out, then secure their loyalty. Such base orcs. But allies are few and far between in Mordor.
I just hope my ears stop ringing soon. What he lacks in humility, he makes up for in strength.
Let us hope so.
If you think Rings of Power ruined Galadriel, here's proof that it happened long before. Things only get worse when the threat turns out to be...
So, victory. Enjoy your triumph. It will be fleeting, like your humanity.
Nazgul from an Asian region of Middle-earth who had killed a couple of Nazgul and killed their father before falling into Sauron's clutches. Yeah, I can't find an excuse here. I'm certain that Sauron was aware of other regions and sought to conquer them all, but he would have had Celebrimbor make more rings before the events of the games. Plus, the ring rates are now, in modern terms, weak sauce. Isildur's death is supposed to be a demonstration of how powerful the Bright Lords have become, that they're the only ones who could accomplish such a feat. Now, anyone can kill ring rates and take their rings. Sure, they get corrupted, but they can just seal the rings away and never speak of it again. Sauron won't know where they are, right? Right? Anyways, we launch one last assault on the Saragos fort with Talion on our side. It all plays out as you expect.
Right, that's far enough! You turn around and march your army out now, or I kill your mate here!
Got one word for you, maggot!
Okay, that's it. No more of my friends are dying today! The female Nazgul are actually pretty unique. They can chain you down and are fast to attack you. Still, your light abilities come in handy, and you defeat the retcons that shouldn't exist. Now, you do what we're supposed to do. Kill Talion and take his ring.
Please. Don't let me die in this cursed land.
Alright, pal. You deserve at least that before you hand the ring over.
Such a little thing. Why should I give it?
Talion, do not betray the man you were.
You speak to me of betrayal. You abandoned me. You and Celebrimbor. You took everything from me. I have fought this war alone.
Talion, you are not alone.
This ring is mine. And Talion is no more.
The Talion boss fight isn't that hard. It's just heartbreaking. You don't want to fight him. You want to see him overpower Eltariel and reclaim his role as the main character. But he's fallen to the dark side, and you have to stop him.
I am banished from death and bound to the flaming eye.
Eltariel, and by extension the player, take one last look at Talion's life from the previous game to the present, seeing how much he has suffered and what he has sacrificed to keep evil at bay. He then disappears, and Galadriel congratulates Eltariel on the job well done, even though she failed in obtaining Isildur's ring. At this point, I was convinced that Galadriel was supposed to be Celebrimbor in disguise, wanting to get Talion out of the way. Yet, Monolith scrapped that and lost the plot of retrieving Isildur's ring. It's easy to think Talion died here, but remember that ring wraiths can't die unless their rings are taken away. The last cutscene of the base game shows Talion's inevitable fate, becoming a ring wraith. A generic ring wraith at that. Meanwhile, Eltariel gains motivation from Talion's memories and stays behind to ensure Mordor does not grow in power. By the time of Return of the King, the One Ring is destroyed and Talion dies. His last moments are depicted as him removing his armor and walking towards the light. Which is questionable since he had fallen to darkness and hadn't atoned. Still, I am glad that he got the happy ending, a just reward for all that he's done. Still, it's not over. Celebrimbor escapes from Sauron's tower and Eltariel takes notice.
The Ringmaker is free. He calls to you. I will follow his call.
Yet, we're not done. We still have the Great Palate Cleanser, which is Baranor's DLC. It shows him going to the Dune of Middle-earth and saved by who else but Torvin.
My men, what happened?
I'm sorry, lad. They weren't as lucky as you.
Thank you for saving me.
Oh, don't thank me. Thank this!
Baranor seeks out a band of mercenaries in the region, and they are led by none other than Baranor's long-lost brother,
Jagai.
No, little brother. I am Serka now. Serka, the unkillable. Serka, the insufferable. Serka, the survivor.
He's kind of the Lando Calrissian to Baranor's Luke Skywalker. Baranor is often serious and honorable, thinking about the well-being of Gondor. Serka is a bit more playful, but also conniving, working for the orcs while taking advantage of them. It's not so much for his men's well-being, but to make sure they don't stab him in the back.
I need to keep the coin flowing. Do you see those men back there? Those are not soldiers. Their loyalty is bought, and when they stop getting paid, their blades are no longer under my control.
These are marauder orcs. When we take their fortress, you'll get half their fortune, and I'll use the other half to pay you and your men for whatever comes next.
Baranor challenges Serka's conniving ways, making him debate his loyalties to his men versus his family. It's what gets him stabbed in the back.
You see, I had a brother once. His name was Serka. And then a stranger came, and he started to forget who his family was, his real family. Men who followed him bled with him. He started to think he could work against us, against our patrons. No need for that.
Still, you save Serka and get him back in his chair. The overall objective remains: kick the Overlord out with ruthless fervor. Yet, it's how you do it that's drastically different. Baranor is human, which means no dominations, no conniving, and no making friends with orcs. You fight them and nothing else. Still, Baranor has his ways to level the playing field. Initially, Baranor has a sword and shield for melee and a wrist crossbow for ranged. With Torvin's help, Baranor becomes Middle-earth Batman, with a grapple to reach high places and a parachute to glide around. These are all upgraded with ancient blueprints found throughout the game world. In time, Baranor will be doing killer parries, area of effect chain whips, mark and executes from Splinter Cell Conviction, and even a Mortal Kombat reference.
Get over here!
But that's not all. You can also unlock and upgrade your crossbow to hold different ammo types, from elemental bolts to overpowering bombs. You can even shoot while gliding. Honestly, this whole kit makes Baranor more powerful than Talion or Eltariel. Just look at this. I'm decimating orcs with crossbow bolts and bombs alone. You can cut through swaths of orcs and captains and almost not break a sweat. Almost. The other upgrades pertain to the Nemesis System. Since you can't dominate orcs, you overtake the lands by hiring out mercenaries through a new currency. Said currency is obtained by exploring, killing captains, or conquering outposts, which you put them in charge of. The mercenaries are organized into tiers, and placing a certain tiered mercenary comes with different benefits for you and your allies. Other upgrades include reviewing intel on captains and circus upgrades to your siege of the fort. You don't get them right away, but have to progress the story, which gives incentive to play it, so I'm all for it. Runes have also seen a drastic change. Instead of being armor pieces, they are upgrades to your existing weapons. White ones just increase damage or defense, but the green, orange, and purple alter your weapons in both good and bad ways. Still, Baranor is human, so what happens if he dies? You lose everything. Your weapon runes? Gone. Conquered outposts and hired mercenaries? Gone. Captains? Re-randomized as if you hadn't even touched them. The only stuff you don't lose is story progression and the blueprint upgrades. Let me tell you, losing in Baranor's DLC, it stings. A lot. Having to do almost everything all over again when I was close to victory, a grand frustration. More than losing in the main game. But it was in this defeat that I realized what Baranor's DLC really was. A roguelite. It's the first roguelite I've played. And I love it! Yeah, losing sucks, but when I finally achieved victory, seeing my score on the screen didn't matter to me. What mattered is that I won. And you know what? It got me thinking about playing other roguelites, if only for fun. I won't elaborate on the story much, since it doesn't link with Talion's. There's just a few references here and there. Still, I did like the dynamic with Baranor and Circa, hearing about their childhoods and how different their paths were.
How have you survived among the Easterlings?
By letting Jagai die. By becoming Circa. Jagai was weak, afraid. He could be hurt, killed. Circa cannot.
How the story ends may have been a starting point of a Shadow of War spin-off. Maybe a continuation of the main story even. In an alternate universe where Monolith wasn't canned. No! No. I said I wasn't going to make this a Warner Brothers bad video. I'll say that I'm glad for what we have. Shadow of War is a fantastic sequel, building upon its predecessor and expanding both the game world and gameplay in meaningful ways. Not to mention the online vendetta and siege missions do add replayability. And there's a whole host of orc personalities that I never encountered but many online have, and you should check them out. I would have liked the skill tree to have been reduced, or at least to have added a loadout tab. It would have made switching out skills to account for every single orc weakness a little more bearable. Still, it's a minor nitpick, and how well everything else is handled, except Eltariel's DLC, overshadows this. However, I do want to say this. Before I heard the news, I was worried that Monolith would never make a sequel to Shadow of War, given that Warner Brothers was giving them other projects. I feared that if a sequel were on the way, it would be in the far future. Well, those fears came true. Even if Warner Brothers greenlights a sequel, it will most likely not be by the same team. It won't be what Monolith had in mind. The Nemesis System might not be used properly. Or maybe I'm wrong, and whoever does it next will give it a satisfying conclusion. Yet, I am skeptical, and will remain so until I see it for myself. All I can do is enjoy what we have, and give one last piece of advice. This is to any executive of Warner Brothers Games who is watching this. If you are not going to use the Nemesis system at all, release it from the patent now. You are going to revolutionize the gaming industry in ways that you can't perceive, and get a lot of angry people off your back. With that, thank you all for watching. Before heading back to Frogware's Holmes games, I want to make one analysis video tying the Middle-earth games to Lord of the Rings' author. So be sure to subscribe or follow the channel so you don't miss out. Don't forget to like and comment on what you think about the Middle-earth games below. For those that are new, welcome aboard. I hope to see you next time when I answer the most important question. Would Tolkien approve of the Middle-earth game series?